A very warm welcome to the World of Lord Russell podcast show. And today's show is rightly named The Fall and Rise of the Phoenix, which captures the fall of the old Aldershot Football Club in 1992. And out of the ashes, the new Aldershot Town Football Club is born. The chief architect, in fact, behind the rebirth of Aldershot Town Football Club is the former chairman and now the official club ambassador and trustee of the Shotts Community Foundation, Terry Owens. Welcome to the show, Terry.
Thank you very much, my lord.
Oh, you're welcome. We'll start right from the beginning because we've got to really talk about the old Aldershot and move into the new and all the things that have gone on over the history of Aldershot Football Club, which is quite amazing. So the initial club was founded in 1926 and was actually founded as Aldershot Town Football Club. And in 1927, Aldershot joined the Southern League. And in 1932, Aldershot actually won the Southern League title, being elected to the Football League in place of Thames, who had declined to reapply for election. So the name was changed to Aldershot Football Club at that time, prior to the inaugural 1932-33 Football League season. So, Terry, Aldershot were initially a non-league football club for around 5 years, winning promotion to the Football League, providing a great new and exciting beginning for the town of Aldershot.
Absolutely spot on. And I started supporting the club in 1958.
Wow.
As an 11-year-old boy.
I wasn't even born then.
And I've supported the club ever since 1958 without missing a season. I've missed games because there was the time when I was playing football on Saturdays.
Yes.
But I'd go to the Tuesday night games, midweek games, and the reserve games when they used to play in the combination league.
Yes.
So I've supported it 67 years now.
That's a huge supporting time indeed. I think I first started to follow Aldershot or support Aldershot in around 1972. So we'll get onto that later on in this podcast. But yeah, wonderful supporting years, Terry. Congratulations to you for that. Aldershot's first season in Division 3. The Football League years from 1932 through to 1973. Were predominantly spent within the Third Division South, the old Third Division South, and the Fourth Division. But in 1973, which is just after I started to follow them, something very magical happened, Terry, didn't it? Never happened before to Aldershot Football Club, and we all jumped up with joy. Went, yes, it's happened. First promotion in 41 years.
That's right. We drew, I think, 0-0 at Stockport County.
We did.
On that game. And I think it may have been goal difference that took us up. I can't quite remember.
It was goal average in those days.
It was a tight promotion, and we got into the next league above the Division 4.
Yeah, Division 3. And just above Newport County, I remember, on goal average. So that was almost the last game of the season, wasn't it? Well, it was pretty much.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. And, what a great night that was. Never been back higher since.
No, indeed, and that first season, and what a side that was. I do remember that side. They were absolutely fantastic. And Aldershot's first season in Division 3 saw the Shotts securing their highest ever finish as they finished 8th in the Third Division. The heady heights of nearing Football League Division 2, now the championship, of course, Terry.
Yeah.
I remember Aldershot were bottom of the league in November and went on a fantastic run.
You remember the days of the Football League in Division 4 when if you finished in the bottom 4, it was the members of that league who either voted you to stay in
That's right.
or voted you out.
That's
and
right.
It was a bit like the Old Boys Act. But quite often, because of the hospitality we gave the visiting club at Aldershot and the friendship that was maintained there, it was always tough for a club outside of Division 4 to get into Division 4. Because it was the Old Boys Act where they would vote Aldershot in or vote Hull United in or Rochdale.
Yes.
Which for some of the teams that struggled in those days. But then, of course, times did change and it became automatic relegation.
And rightly so too, I think, because the non-league football was increasing in value, wasn't it, over the time? The Southern League, then becoming, of course, the Conference and now the National League. There were some really strong, powerful sides in those days. And Wimbledon were one of them, of course. And look what happened to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And continued success as well.
It was, yeah. Got into Division 4, through to 3, Division 2, up in then Division 1, now obviously the Premiership.
And Peterborough United came through the non-league.
They did. So there's been some huge successes before actually the automatic started, and quite rightly so. And you look at the sides like Rochdale, they struggled, didn't they, perennially, and Workington Town dropped out and never ever established a route to get back. Darlington, yeah.
Can I just say that, oddly enough, you mentioned Rochdale.
Yeah.
And they're in our league this season.
They are. They got relegated last year.
So another amazing story of a club falling on bad times.
Yes.
But they'll come back.
I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will come back. A lot of the. In fact, that National League now that we're playing in, Aldershot playing in, it's such a strong league, isn't it? The big.
Well, in my opinion, it's the Division 4 of the Football League.
Yes.
And it's only my opinion. I think, and it may not happen in my lifetime. I hope it does happen in my lifetime. But it does make sense for Division 3 of the EFL League to amalgamate with the National League and have North and South.
Do you know what? That wouldn't be a bad plan, would it really? Because the distance of travelling for some of these clubs is a difficult thing to finance, having North and South. Back to the days when Aldershot started, of course, Division 3 South.
And let's forget, there's at least 12 former Football League clubs in our National League now.
There is indeed.
Now, it does make sense, but whether that can happen or not, I don't know.
And it would have been more. Scunthorpe United got relegated, didn't they, last year from the National League, and now in National League North.
And Chesterfield, we can rattle all these big clubs off.
Oh, huge. And of course, the two biggest ones really went up last year, and rightly so, didn't they? For the Plough and natural. Wrexham. Oh, God, amazing what's happening at Wrexham right now in Notts County. Notts County were the oldest club in the world, aren't they? I mean, being National League was just unprecedented.
Yeah.
And I can remember that when Notts County were formed, I'm not sure if it's true or not, but I did read about it, that they actually gave Juventus their kit, which is why Juve still playing a black and white.
Well. Another story about Notts County, if I may say so, your lordship. Jimmy Cyril.
Yes.
A former, we used to call him the Sponge Man.
Yes.
He was, of course, the trainer. That was in the days when they used football bladders filled with water.
Yes.
And if you got a kick on the shins, you just emptied the water onto the shins and the player got up and carried on.
Yeah.
But of course, he ended up being manager of Notts County for many years.
I do remember Jimmy Cyril managing Notts County. He had quite a famous name, Jimmy Cyril.
And I used to deliver his milk. I was a milk boy, age 14. And I knew in those days we had about 12 club houses, and players that came down to play for us lived in those houses and paid the rent to live in them.
Wow.
And I used to deliver his milk, Jimmy. Yeah.
Absolutely. Top man, Jimmy. Yeah, Jimmy Cyril. That's a great old name from yesteryear. Fantastic.
Yeah. And Jim Smith that played for Aldershot, he went on to big managerial positions.
He did.
Especially at Derby. So we've had some good players fall into management.
Yeah, I think Aldershot's got quite a rich history, haven't they, really, when you look back at what's happened, and we'll go through some of that today as well. But there's a wonderful history. But in terms of Division 3 football for Aldershot, of course, when they went up, they only lasted for 3 years. And then Aldershot were relegated by a single point in 1976. A devastating blow to Aldershot and supporters, Terry, wasn't it, really? Getting up there and then coming down after 3 years with that great side we had too. Massive side.
Yeah. And unfortunately, we had that bitter chase again in the new club in 1992, which I'm sure we'll talk about later, when Gary Waddock got us back into the Football League, only to last 2, maybe 3 seasons, and back down we came again with the deduction of 10 points because we entered administration. But we'll talk about that later.
No, we shall do. Yeah, we'll certainly get onto that. And there was a moment in Aldershot's history, of course, in 1984, 85, cracky. I can remember those years. You know, I'm getting old myself now, but it really brings back some good memories. When Aldershot took on a young striker at the time on loan from Millwall, none other than Teddy Sheringham, the former or the future England international player. Millwall manager at the time, George Graham, had been willing to sell Teddy Sheringham to Aldershot on a permanent basis, but Aldershot could not raise the 5,000 fee. That is some story, isn't it, Terry? I mean, he was an amazing player for Nottingham Forest, Tottenham Hotspur, and England, icon. And he could have been a permanent player at Aldershot.
Well, let me tell you the story about it.
I knew you were.
I was involved. I was involved in that. During that time, there was a consortium of business people, local business people, including the Chelsea legend Ron Chopper Harris.
Oh, good old Chopper.
As part of our consortium. We took over the football club with the support of all of the shareholders.
Wow.
Because there was a time when the club was not being run in a profitable way or progressive way.
Mm.
And the supporters were obviously very disappointed. And the shareholders were very disappointed and wanted to change at the top. So we, on behalf of the shareholders, called an EGM, an emergency general meeting of the shareholders and the current board of directors. And the shareholders decided to remove them and put myself and David O'Connell and Cliff Jenkins and one or two others in control of the football club. And we installed Ron Harris as the manager.
Brilliant.
So it was Ron Harris that brought Teddy to the club. And he came to the club as a 18 or 19-year-old. Didn't, in my opinion, shine. I don't think he scored a goal in those 4 or 5 appearances either. And we had Tommy Langley playing in that team as well, another former Chelsea player.
Yeah, he was a great player, wasn't he, Tommy?
And but Ron Harris saw something in the player. And he asked the board of directors if he could approach Millwall through George Graham to sign him. George said he wanted £5,000 at the time. And we couldn't raise the funds, and it didn't happen. But Teddy wouldn't have wanted to come to Aldershot anyway, even if we agreed a £5,000 fee. He knew he was good enough to get to a high level, and the rest is history.
The rest is history indeed, but it's still a lovely story, a kind of romantic fairy tale, really, isn't it, attached to Aldershot Football Club, which is great to talk about. It's great for you to hear your words on that as well. And then, of course, the arrival of Len Walker, as manager in June 1985, a former player, of course, for Aldershot, sparked a brief revival in Aldershot's fortunes. And in 1987, promotion was secured again, Terry, via the playoffs, with Aldershot becoming the first club, actually, to gain promotion via the playoffs in the start of it all. And they were the very first club to go through the playoff victory. An amazing playoff venture too, Terry, beating Bolton Wanderers in the semi-finals. And Wolverhampton Wanderers in the final, both games over 2 legs. Classic Aldershot, Terry, really. I went to the home game against Wolves. It was incredible. Bobby Barnes, what a player.
Yeah, good player, Bobby Barnes. Now works for the FA at a very high level. Bobby Barnes, another good player you should get online to talk to. Came from West Ham. But putting that to one side, we finished, I believe, 12 points, I think, behind Wolverhampton Wanderers.
Did.
And that's what's sad about the playoffs, that you can meet a team who were 12 points ahead of you and not get promoted. I think that's rather sad.
It is.
But fortuitous for our club at the time, where we beat them across those 2 games, and we got the promotion instead of them. But had I been a Wolverhampton supporter, manager, player, I'd have been absolutely devastated to have been 12 points clear and get beat in the playoffs. And I think that rule should change. I think at the end of 90 minutes of a playoff final in these days, at the end of 90 minutes or extra time, rather than go to penalties, at the end of extra time, if it's still a draw, I think the team with the highest point tally should be given the opportunity of promotion.
But you know
That's my opinion.
I don't think it's just your opinion, it's mine as well, actually, because what you've just described is what happens in Italy. I think there's a side this year, I think it's Barry, got promoted. They finished huge points difference against their opponents. And it was 0-0 or 1-1 at full time, getting right to the end of extra time. And the home supporters this time were still cheering for promotion. And then Barry then scored in the last seconds and won promotion to Serie A from Serie B.
Yeah.
So that surely isn't right, is it? So I think what you're saying is correct. Maybe that's a change that can happen. It'd be a good change.
If everyone's in agreement, it could happen, but you have to get everyone in agreement. Penalties are a travesty at any level.
They are.
Any level. To lose on penalties.
Oh, all the sides I've supported over the years, I think there's more penalty losses than wins. And that goes with England, obviously Aldershot. They've lost out quite a few penalty shootouts. And Chelsea too. So in that respect, there
was a time when we had the Football League record for penalties being taken to decide the game. And I think it got to, I'm guessing now, 15-14.
Wow.
Or 14-13, but it was the longest. And the game finished about 11 o'clock at night.
That's just amazing. Of course, it happened almost to that point in 2 years ago in the FA Cup final, Chelsea and Liverpool, where it ended up 12-11 on penalties. after
Yes.
extra time.
Yeah. Mm.
Colossal.
Yeah.
But of course, you can't. Aldershot did win. They gave Wolves one of the most humiliating defeats in their history with a 3-0 aggregate win over 2 legs. Was winning 1-0 at Molineux and 2-0 at the Rec, and back into Football League 3 and continuing Wolves to yet another season in Football League 4. So Division 4. So a second season, a second promotion back into League 3 again.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah,
So,
and of course, Len Walker came from Darlington initially.
Yes.
They've had a fall from grace, Darlington.
Oh, they have.
But yeah, he was a northern man, and he lived in Fleet, and he's still alive and kicking.
Yes, it's good.
And I think he gets looked after now.
That's good.
In his older years.
Yes.
And another, I don't like to use the word legends, because in my opinion, you only become a legend when perhaps you're dead. I mean, that's something good. But we can say that he's a well-respected manager.
Definitely.
And player. Played a lot of games for the football club.
Yes.
Team captain as well. Good wing half. Very intelligent player. And a nice guy.
Absolutely. Yeah, he always came across as a nice guy. I never had the opportunity to meet him, actually, which is a shame. Wish I had. But going back in those days when, of course, he was around. And I can remember Aldershot playing, the 3rd division, Aldershot playing at home to the likes of Brighton and Hove Albion with Brian Clough as manager. And, he'd come to the Rec, and it was all about Brian Clough. It was fantastic. And Crystal Palace, Mr. McAllison, Malcolm Allison.
And Terry Venables, I think, was involved
as
well with Malcolm.
He was.
And they had that winger called Peter Taylor.
Oh,
who became the England manager.
Yeah, he did.
For a while, under 23s.
Yes.
Yeah. And of course, Alex Ferguson's been to the recreation ground. We can rattle them all off.
We can rattle them all off. And I remember
it's not just Aldershot. Many other clubs at our level have had wonderful, wonderful moments in history.
Absolutely. And I can remember Peter Taylor, who scored the winning goal, actually, for Crystal Palace at Chelsea in an FA Cup 5th round tie going back.
Yes.
And as I left the ground, Stamford Bridge, all I could hear noise coming above was Eagles.
The Eagles.
Peter Taylor.
Yes.
Oh, well, we all reminisce about this. It's fantastic. Football's it's a great spiritual game, isn't it?
Yeah.
But then again, then in a disastrous season in 1988-89 saw Aldershot go down in bottom place with just 8 wins and 37 points. All season, placing them 17 points adrift for safety, Terry. The decline was well and truly beginning to sink in then, wasn't it?
Yeah, but prior to that, the club was in dire financial trouble. And I was asked by the chairman at the time, would I start a campaign to raise important, immediate money to save the football club?
Yes.
And I came up with the strapline of SOS. And the strapline was Save Our Shots.
Brilliant.
And I kid you not, over a period of 8 months, the campaign I ran raised £130,000.
Wow.
I set up a separate bank account called SOS, Save Our Shots, with Barclays Bank. And £130,000 went through that account. And the reason I wanted a separate account was because supporters trusted me with all the money that was being raised to put it in the right direction.
Mm.
And I said to the football club that you just give me the bill and I'll pay it. So they gave me the electric bill, paid it, the gas bill, we paid it, the coach bill, we paid it.
Brilliant.
Paid £85,000 worth of players' wages.
Wow.
Through the Save Our Shots campaign. But I controlled the money.
Brilliant.
And there was a sort of I ring-fenced it and made sure it all went in the right direction. And it saved the club from going bust at the time.
Yeah.
And then the club picked itself up and it started again in terms of energy and it adjusted itself financially. And but there you are. It was a Save Our Shots campaign that saved the club. I was very proud of what I'd done there.
Yeah, you should be proud as
well.
With
the team around me, of course.
Indeed, but it's a remarkable thing to have done. So they don't call you Mr. Aldershot for nothing, do they? And we probably mention that again a bit later on. But of course, the financial crisis, there's another little story here. The financial crisis was worsening and in 1990. And Aldershot were wound up in the High Court as the official receiver condemned Aldershot as, and I'll repeat, I say this, hopelessly insolvent, which is madness, with debts of 495,000. However, the winding up order was lifted in August 1990 when a 19-year-old property developer, Spencer Trefouille, I don't know if I pronounced his name right,
Correct.
paid £200,000 to save the club and allowed them to start the new 4th Division campaign. They were crazy times, weren't they, Terry?
Well, it was more than crazy because he never parted with a penny.
Really?
I'm going to tell you a story.
Go on.
It's fact. He came up as a 19-year-old successful businessman, which he
property
wasn't,
developer, wasn't he? I think.
which he wasn't, and he couldn't come up with the money.
Wow.
So John McGinty,
bless him,
put £60,000 in.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Alan Gillespie, a friend of the football club, put £60,000 in.
Wow.
So there was a collective £120,000 put into the football club's funds.
Mm.
So whilst the club was in administration and needed to come out of administration, when the club appeared in the High Court or the winding up petition to be finalised, the barrister on our side said, we've got 120,000 worth of funds in the football club. Can you dissolve the winding up petition? And that's what happened. So we came out of all that dangerous waters, as we might call it, continued to play football. And Spencer Trefouille never, ever paid a penny back to Alan Gillespie, who was the club doctor at the time, and John McGinty. They never got their money back. Yeah, and then, of course, Spencer Trefouille got found out. It was a bit of a Walter Mitty. His father, who was a very successful businessman with an engineering firm, partly wiped his hands of him, and he continued conning people in and around London, and I won't go into details, and got found out, and eventually the law caught up with him. He's now, of course, manager of Farnborough Town Football Club, who play in the National Conference South.
Yes, of course. Yes, the near neighbours of Farnborough Town, absolutely. And of course, also about Spencer Trefouille as well. He also appeared on the Terry Wogan show. I do remember seeing it to talk about being the saviour of Aldershot Football Club, but he actually was on the Terry Wogan show. Oh, it's incredible, isn't it?
Bullshit. He was flying around in helicopters.
Yes.
He had a stretch limousine. He had a couple of pretty young girls following him around.
Yeah.
Who allegedly were his accounts lady or secretary. Yeah. And he gave this aura of being very successful, having lots of money, and not having the funds to support him.
Oh, he was just a con man, wasn't he? And in the end, he ended up, I think, 2 years imprisonment, wasn't it, for fraud? It was quite a light sentence.
It was something that happened in London, and he got. I do know the details, but not a good man at the time. He's probably learned from those mistakes and is a changed man. Well,
hopefully he has. His involvement with Farnborough Town Football Club. Hopefully he's a different man now, because if he's carried on the same way as he did before, that'd be a real sucker blow for Farnborough, wouldn't it? Let's be honest. In fact, they're not called Farnborough Town now. They're just Farnborough Football Club, aren't they? It'd be a shame for Farnborough. But then manager Brian Talbot resigned in November 1991 to be succeeded by another ex-player, of course, Ian MacDonald. But in March 1992, bad time, Aldershot Football Club finally went out of business and were obliged to resign from the Football League. The game played, or the last final game played, was a 2-0 defeat at Cardiff City at Ninian Park on the 20th of March 1992. And I can remember the Cardiff City fans were handing around buckets, collecting money for Aldershot, trying to save the club as well. Really thoughtful supporters. And I can certainly remember being in tears, Terry, and a shock to Aldershot as a town and their fan base. That was awful, wasn't it? Absolutely awful.
Yeah, but I need to tell you another story there.
Okay.
Please, if I may. Yes, the Cardiff supporters, it was Aldershot Football Club as well as Cardiff, had some of these buckets to get people's loose change.
Yes.
And it wasn't to save the club, because the club, in my opinion, would be on saving.
Yeah.
But it was to support the players who hadn't been paid wages for about a month.
Wonderful. Good gesture.
So we got a few £1,000s. It was taken into the away dressing room at the end of the game, given to Ian MacDonald to divvy up amongst the players to help pay their mortgage and feed their families. Putting that to one side, I went down to that game on the supporters' field. And I'd already done something which, if I hadn't have done it at the time, Aldershot would not have been resurrected in March 1992.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the simple fact that the winding up petition that happened was past the date of any applications being made to the Beezer League,
Mm-hmm.
the Deodora League, and what was then the Vauxhall Conference National League.
Mm.
So therefore, if we had waited for the club to go bust and then to try and restart it, we would not have got any league status in
Wow.
those leagues because the deadline had surpassed. So privately, without anybody knowing, I knew the football club would not survive the winding up petition.
Mm-hmm.
So I contacted the Beezer Homes League, Alan Studwick, who was the secretary at the time.
Yes.
I contacted Alan Turvey of the Deodora League at the time, who was chairman, and I contacted the National Vauxhall Conference League to see if they would accept a new football club in their league. Well, of course, they all said, well, you won't have a ground, you won't have players, you won't have a manager, you
Yes.
probably won't have any manager. How can this happen when the club doesn't exist? Well, Alan Turvey of the Deodora League believes in my confidence that
Yep.
I would be able to get the ground back, I would be able to form a new football club, and I would have financial backing to support that. And he trusted me.
What
And
else
he
do
said,
you?
Terry, it's not up to me, it's up to the members of our league, members being the football clubs in those leagues, to support your application. But I will agree, as a gentleman's agreement, that you will have every opportunity to resurrect your football club in our league. I went down there to Cardiff with that in my mind,
Yes.
and a piece of paper to confirm it, because in those days we had fax machines.
Yes.
And I had a fax from Alan Turvey to confirm that we could be accepted into their league. So down at Cardiff, I knew that.
Yep.
But I didn't tell anybody. So therefore, we beat that deadline. That's the one candle I can hold up and say, if I hadn't have done that, the club would not have reformed so quickly. It would have lost a whole year. It would have resurrected the following year.
Yes.
But you would have lost the optimism and the wave of etc. etc.
Definitely.
And after that, of course, I called the public meetings and we went from strength to strength. On the question of the winding up, only myself and Colin Hancock were in the High Court that day.
Yes.
Colin Hancock was the chairman at that time, just the two of us. The hammer came down that we was wound up because the barrister representing our club confirmed there was no funds and the creditors would have to take the hit. And with sadness, the judge put the hammer down. I've got the original winding up signed petition. I've got the original winding up certificate that he signed. I've got that in my possession, along with lots of other memorabilia. And I then phoned the football club coming out of the High Court while Colin talked online with television crews. It was left to me to phone staff who were waiting by the phones. Ian McDonald, who was waiting by the phones, Steve Wignall, the players, to say the club's wound up, is gone.
That's terrible, isn't it?
Sad.
But your genius,
Bad
though.
phone call.
Your genius. It would have been bad phone calls, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But then, of course, a month later, you were making good phone calls because,
That's it.
Aldershot Town Football Club, which they were originally formed when they first started in the 30s, arose out of the ashes, the birth of the phoenix, all from the hard work of supporters led by yourself, Terry, as you just mentioned, with Graham Brooklands and, of course, the late Arthur English, the great English actor Arthur English, amongst others too. But you were the chief architect, Terry. So what did drive you and inspire you to form Aldershot Town Football Club, and what made you get behind that? You just said you planned it, to make sure you didn't miss the deadlines. But was that because you're just truly a Mr. Aldershot? You just wanted football back in Aldershot. What was the drive? What pushed you?
Let me start with saying I couldn't do it on my own.
No, indeed you couldn't.
But how it happened was, after the Cardiff game and after the winding up petition was confirmed, I contacted the Aldershot Supporters Club. Graham Brooklands was the chairman at the time, and said, I've got something to tell you. Because remember, I still hadn't told anybody what I had done.
Yes.
Graham said, "Okay," with apprehension.
Hmm.
Meet me and 3 or 4 of my committee members in the Crimea pub opposite the football club at a certain day, certain time, which I'd done.
Yes.
And I walked in and said, I am going to start a new football club. I have made applications to Visa, Deodora, and National Conference.
Yes.
It doesn't look good with National Conference. It doesn't look good with the Visa because they're more Midland based as well. But I said, I'm very hot with the Deodora, but I can't do it on my own. Would you join me?
Mm.
They
And
thought about it. Obviously, there was questions and had to answer those questions. And the meeting went on for half an hour. And after half an hour, they agreed to come on board with me.
Brilliant.
And we agreed to call a public meeting at the Aldershot Officers Club at the time, which is local to the football club.
Mm.
And we had nearly 700 supporters
Wow.
turn up to that public meeting to perhaps listen and hear, with me as the main driving force, I suppose, at the time.
Yeah, you were.
To say, look, the club's gone bust. What can we do? Anybody got any ideas? But we have a flip chart with Arthur English is going to be the president. The supporters club are on board. We formed a limited football club called Aldershot Town Football Club Limited because I wanted to go back to the 1926 original name.
Exactly.
And that's what we done. And all the supporters embraced it, had a flip chart of who was going to be the manager. And can I say that if ever there was a quiz on Aldershot Football Club, new 1992 limited, and the question was who was the first manager of Aldershot Town Football Club in 1992, everyone would say, most people would say Steve Wignall.
Yeah, I'd say it's Terry Owens.
But it wasn't. It wasn't. It was Ian McDonald.
Ian McDonald
agreed to be the first manager of Aldershot Town Football Club. He signed his contract. He agreed to wages.
Yep.
And then the manager of Millwall comes to the surface of me, and it was the Irish manager at the time. Trying to think of his name. Became manager of the Irish Republic national team.
Oh, Neil? Was it Neil?
God, he's gone.
Yeah. Don't worry, Terry. Don't worry.
He's only just come out of football. He just lost his job at his most recent club.
I can't think who it is either now myself.
Come to me in a moment.
Yeah,
come to me in a moment. He offered in the position at Millwall of looking after the academy and all the youth players. Ian asked to be released of his contract, and we couldn't stop him. Ian McCarthy.
Ian McCarthy. Yeah, I knew you'd get there in the end.
So he was good friends with Ian. And he went to Millwall, we didn't stand in his way. I then said to Steve, would you become the manager? And because he was going to be Ian's assistant manager.
Yes, of course.
So it was a natural progression. Former player.
Of course. What a good job he did. Because the rise of the Phoenix started immediately.
He got 2 promotions in 2 years.
He did,
and then got headhunted by Colchester United. And I had to do a deal with the chairman of Colchester United because I wanted compensation if we released him.
Absolutely.
And I think we got £5,000 to release him from the club to become manager of Colchester United. He then took Colchester to the Wembley in one of those lower cup competitions.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so there we are. Yeah, so Steve got 2 promotions in 2 years. Yeah,
I was going to say the rise of the Phoenix started immediately, obviously with Steve, and initially placed in was the Deodora League, of course, but Division 3, so 5 divisions down from where Aldershot were, 5 leagues below the Football League.
Can I just say that I wanted to go into the Premier League, and they said no. I said, well, give us Division 1.
Yeah,
and they said the chairman said we'll put it to the members, but the members said Division 3.
Absolutely.
And when I look back at it, I think they were absolutely right that we should start at the lowest level and earn our medals, earn our spurs, do it the hard way.
Correct. Because you're miraculously good.
Of course, it's a big fish in a very small pond.
It is.
And there's a lot of jealousies with our team.
Oh, but you're getting to
the former football, big time Charlies. Every game was a cup final. They wanted to beat us. The Rec became a fortress.
It did.
They all wanted to beat us up at the recreation ground, and we're to win a coach and tracksuits because I wanted to continue in the lines of a professional football club.
And of course, over 2,000 supporters every home game as well. was
we were
incredible.
taking 500-600 supporters to away games.
Yeah.
Who only got gates of 50, 75, maybe 90 if they're lucky. They
Yeah.
got 10 years income in one game.
Yeah, they did.
Lovely. I felt so pleased for those clubs.
Oh, Aldershot did that league
Wonderful.
proud, really, didn't they? And of course, they won the championship that very first season, 92, 93.
By 12 points or 11 points, was it?
Yeah, I think it's 12 points, wasn't it? You actually stormed the league, which was a great thing for Aldershot Town Football Club.
Yeah.
And of course,
considering we had no players, no manager, no
exactly.
ground, no supporters. Yeah.
And then the second division, the following season, they got promoted into the first division by going up in, I think it was third place, after Chertsey and Newbury Town.
Correct.
And it was in that first division. Sorry, in the third division, Deodora, a new local derby, Cove. I mean, who would have ever thought it? They were in that Deodora League 3.
Yeah, Chick Botley was
the manager. Yes.
Yeah, and they'd have 1,600 supporters at their home game.
Yeah, no, I remember going. It's incredible. And there was a 10-year plan, wasn't there, originally, to get back to the Football League? And
when I set that 10-year plan, I was ridiculed.
You were
certainly by the sports reporter at the Aldershot News, local newspaper. He said, "You'll never do it. You haven't got a ground. You haven't got any players." This was all pre-setting.
Jealousy.
You'll be playing. They used the word Mickey Mouse team. They'll be playing at the Aldershot Park. But we proved them wrong. The 10-year plan, that was my dream. That was the plan. But at the end of 10 years, because we didn't achieve it in 10 years, you just reset the plan.
You do.
Make it a 15-year plan.
Yeah, you do.
We've done it in 14 years. And when you succeed the 14-year plan, go back to the start and you reset another plan.
You
to give supporters hope. And that's what the club suffers with at the moment. It's ambition and planning and giving people, supporters, something they can grab hold of.
Yes,
this is our plan for the next 5 years.
Well, supporters always want, instant success, wins. They want, to do well in the league and cups and things. It's obvious from a supporter's point of view. But when you're regenerating, which Aldershot are, you've got to accept that there's a plan. You've got to accept there's going to be lean years. You've got to accept that, there's a rebuilding program. That's just part of it, isn't it? Because
we've had a few administrations since we restarted.
We have, and we'll get onto that in a minute. But Aldershot, they then won the first division title in 97-98, the Premier Division in 2002-2003. So in 10 years, you've got a place in the conference. So that's just one league below the Football League. So you could almost say your 10-year plan was perfect because that's where Aldershot would have been anyway. So you got back to where you would have been. Now the National League, of course, that is. And so essentially, Aldershot back in where they would have been to. And that's it, isn't it? It's fantastic.
Thank you.
Aldershot Town spent 5 seasons in the conference, losing twice, of course, in the playoffs before winning promotion to the Football League as Conference, National and Conference League Cup champions as well under Gary Waddock's stewardship in 2007-2008. Aldershot were back in the Football League too, Terry, after 14 years, as you said. That's incredible.
We were. And the late John McGinty was the chairman at the time.
Yeah, bless John.
John McGinty, they lost £65,000 because of Spencer Fury.
Yes.
So he deserved his success. He did love the club.
He did.
And Gary was a perfect fit at that time. I keep in touch with Gary regular. I mean regular. We talk to each other regularly. And he's a nice guy. But yes, in the Football League, but it cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
To build that team, to win that championship, to get into the Football League, there was a cost. And from the time we got into the Football League, the finances changed. A, they increased, and 2, we were beginning to carry financial baggage.
Yeah.
Losses.
Yes. And that's often what happens, isn't it? Yeah, but there was some great times in that initial League Two status, of course. With just 5 seasons, of course, in Football League Two, which included two League Two semi-final playoffs against Rotherham United in 2010, and in 2013, Aldershot Town were once again relegated to the conference, now the National League. And just 5 days later, in May 2013, Aldershot Town announced again that they were in financial difficulties with players' wages. Going unpaid again, entering into administration with debts of over 1 million. So the dark days returned to Terry again, and they say lightning never strikes twice, but it did on this occasion. I mean, more fighting, isn't it? More fighting at the board level, staving off administration, and going broke again. A tough time.
There was a time during the last administration
Yes.
where the administrator said we've not had enough. The consortium, which is the current chairman of the football club, Shahid Azim,
Yes.
he had a consortium of people wanting, and Shahid was the director of the club at the time.
He was.
Who wanted to do a deal with the administrator. But according to the administrator, the consortium hadn't raised enough money to pay off the amount of money the creditors were asking for.
Yeah.
And the administrator said, I'm not prepared to negotiate any more with the creditors. They're losing money anyway, and rightly, they need to get some compensation.
Yes.
There was I was at that meeting, and the administrator indicated there was a shortfall of about £40,000 to £50,000.
Right.
Might have been 65,000.
Yes.
And the consortium weren't prepared at the time to put any more money in.
Well,
They thought they could negotiate and win the game. But I stood up immediately and said to the shareholders that were in that room at the time, come on then, how many people in here, if I ran a separate bank account and ring-fenced it and put that bank account in with the administrator, how many would donate some money? And a lot of hands went up. Said, if you're in control of the money, Terry, we'll give you this, we'll give you that. We will support you.
Brilliant.
So off the back of that, I then launched another appeal for the supporters to donate money. And Graham Brooklyn was part of that appeal as well. So that was very important to have Graham on board. Another very well respected person in the football club.
Absolutely.
And we raised £85,000.
I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? And I'm glad you mentioned
in about 3 weeks.
Just an incredible story, and I'm glad you mentioned Shahid Azim, because Shahid Azim, he gets a lot of lots of bad things going on at him at the football matches. And Shahid, I know Shahid Azim as well, of course. He's a lovely man, a good man, and getting behind that consortium, he deserves some success. He's put a lot into the football club, but of course, also in conjunction, the club announced the agreement of a lucrative deal, and this name comes up again with Chelsea Football Club, to host a significant number of matches played by the Chelsea Academy and reserves over the next 2 years. I mean, this seemed fabulous lifesaver for Aldershot Town, didn't it, Terry, really? Having Chelsea suddenly become this benefactor, really, to Aldershot, and playing their games at Aldershot Town Football Club. And, of course, the Chelsea pitch would get lifted at the end of every season and get sent down to Aldershot. Incredible.
Yeah, it wasn't every season they lifted the pitch. I think it was on one, possibly two.
Yeah, I think two. I remember twice.
Yeah, I think it was once, but they did put money into the maintaining of the pitch,
which is good, isn't it?
Which is good. But although the deal was good for the football club, Chelsea took all the gate receipts.
Yep.
But we took all the money from the catering and the, call it the bar.
Yes.
So
after expenses, of course, after the electric bills.
Well. So it sort of cut both ways. But people thought that, of course, if we got a 1,000 gate, we got all the money. It wasn't quite like that, but it was a good deal.
It's a good deal. It's important to get that across, because obviously supporters will be listening to this podcast, so they do understand that this was going on, which is incredible. But since 2018, it has been a bit of a rocky old road for Aldershot Town Football Club, with relegation fights each season. But in the forthcoming 2023-24 season, there is much hope and better days ahead with the appointment of Tommy Widrington from Kings Lynn Town, of course. A huge appointment, that, because he's a great manager, isn't he, Tommy? I mean, I remember him at Kings Lynn because I've got an association with Kings Lynn Football Club as well, as Steve Cleave, the chairman's a good friend of mine. So it'd be good to meet Tommy again at Aldershot. And I feel really empowered that this season we might actually do something incredible.
Well, let me just mention a couple of things. He was also successful at Eastbourne Borough.
He was.
But putting that to one side, and you're correct on the Kings Lynn association with your good self. I've not met Tommy yet. I've met his wife and family.
Yes.
But I'm yet to meet Tommy. But supporters say to me time and time and time again at the moment, what do I think of the new manager? And I have to say, ask me at the end of the season.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it's not me being negative, because I'm very positive, always
It's
positive.
results-based football, though, isn't it? It's results-based.
I'm just saying that he's only had 6 or 7 games at the moment, and he's done well.
Yes,
But it's all about winning things,
it
doing well
is.
in the FA Cup so that we get some extra revenue.
Absolutely
Maybe
right.
selling a player that he brought into the club for more money than what we paid for him.
Correct.
Um,
Proper
doing
football
well in the
management.
FA
Trophy.
as well. Maybe getting to Wembley.
I'll talk about that in a minute.
Getting into the playoffs. That's
Yes,
how I judge a manager on
absolutely.
winning things. Because I'm a great believer in, and I've told my son this and my daughter and my grandchildren, if you come second in any race, you're the first loser.
You are. You are.
So it's all about winning.
It is
And
all
in the
about winning.
Olympics, it's all about the gold.
It is.
You win the gold, but you accept a silver, you accept a bronze, but
But it's
wish
gold.
you had got that gold. Gold is the target.
And I think that's the thing with football, isn't it? As I said just a moment ago, it's all about it's a winning business. And if you don't win, you could be the best manager in the world, but it doesn't mean you're always going to win every match at a certain football club, because the culture might not be there, or you might inherit players you don't want. It takes time to build, and if you don't get the time to do that, you're out.
Yeah.
And that's how it is.
Can I say just one more thing?
Yes.
Tommy's coming to a football club that's a difficult football club to be involved in.
Yeah.
Because there's lots of shapes, and it's like a big jigsaw puzzle, getting it all to fit. And the expectation of our supporters is greater, far, far greater than the expectation of Eastbourne Borough and to a certain extent Kings Lynn.
Yeah, I agree with you.
People still believe we're a former Football League club. The supporters think that we should be back in the Football League. And the pressure on the manager is different to the pressure that Tommy may have been under at Kings Lynn.
Absolutely.
Or at Eastbourne Borough. But yes,
well, let's hope he does it.
Very, very positive. It will come up trumps. And I can't wait for the season to start under his leadership.
Likewise. And he's bringing players in, so he's going to reshape the side to be the way he wants to play. So it's going to be an interesting start to the season. I'm certainly looking forward to it too, Terry. But getting on to winning things and Wembley, Aldershot have never played at Wembley, have they? And we were unlucky in the 1987 Division 4 playoff final when they beat Wolverhampton Wanderers 3-0, because as the following year, the final was played at Wembley, because against Wolves, it was a 2-legged affair. And again, in the 2004 conference playoff final against Shrewsbury Town, which I went to, actually, as the new Wembley was being built. So the final was at Stoke City. And we lost on penalties. So another Wembley possibility down the pan. Not forgetting, Tone, I hasten to add, the FA Trophy semi-final too in 2008, when Aldershot missed out again on Wembley appearance, losing to Ebbsfleet. Again, Aldershot Town really should have won, as they were the runaway conference champions, Terry, weren't they? I mean, really, they had that in the bag.
Yeah.
And in addition, the 2010 League Two playoff semi-final against Rotherham United. So it seems Aldershot are testing not to play at Wembley. So, but hopefully Aldershot's luck will change under Tommy. Let's see.
We don't want to be the nearly. We don't want to be the nearly boys. Anymore.
We don't. We want to get there, don't we? We want to play at Wembley. We want to see Aldershot Town Football Club's name up on those boards. And
we also want teams to come to the EBB stadium.
Yeah, I still call it the recreation
with a bit of nervousness about them, because we want to make it. We'll use the word fortress.
Yes,
we want to win at the recreation stroke EBB lounge, so that we make the visiting teams a tough place to come.
Absolutely. And Aldershot always was, wasn't it? Aldershot always had a strong home culture, but always failed away from home, didn't they? Which is why they never got out of Division 4 only on those two occasions. But they were always strong at home, weren't they? Always. Yes. Powerful side at home. And of course, going back, I remember, because I played at Aldershot's ground a few times, and they used to have the second biggest playing service in the Football League, I think next to Darlington. It was huge, wide and long. Huge ground to play on. I mean, you compare that to Arsenal and Highbury in the day. Yes. Postage stamp in comparison to the recreation ground.
Yes, it was known as the biggest pitch in the Football League at the time. It was the biggest pitch.
Yeah.
Certain managers came in and narrowed the pitch. It wasn't always. It's only the biggest pitch in the Football League with the white lining.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. There was times when managers came and wanted to narrow the pitch, and they brought the white lining in, i.e. the wing ones, in by 2 or 3 feet. I wanted to play a more narrow game. But yeah.
Well, let's hope.
Yeah, biggest pitch.
That's hope. Well, I'm looking forward to coming down to seeing you in the beginning of the season as well, Terry, for a home game and meeting up with everybody as well. That's going to be fantastic. But let's talk about you for a moment, because we had a little chat this morning, and you also have links with Chelsea Football Club in a different sense of the word, as you were the founder and assistant manager of Chelsea 1970s team who toured the UK, raising money for charity, which is absolutely amazing. And the team include the likes of Peter Osgood, Alan Hudson, who I had on the show 4 weeks ago, a great podcast with Alan, Ron Harris, of course, we just mentioned, amongst many others. This is an amazing story, Terry, isn't it?
I'll tell you how that happened. But first of all, the team was players like Peter Bonetti, Mickey Droy, John Benson, Les Strong, Bobby Chamberlain, Peter Osgood, who you mentioned, Ian Hutchinson.
Oh, Ian, as well. Windmill throw-ins, Ian.
Yes, Stevie Kemba, who played for Crystal Palace for a while. But Stevie was a Chelsea boy. Phillips was another goalkeeper that played for us. But how it happened was, when I took over the football club with the consortium with Ron Harris, and Ron Harris was the manager, his mate, Peter Osgood, came to some of the games. Yeah. And I befriended. I became friends with Peter. Yeah. And one day Peter said to me, Terry, he said, you probably know more about football off the pitch than what we know on it.
Yeah.
So what do you mean by that? He said, look, why don't we try and get all the Chelsea boys from the 70s together and play some exhibition games? Do you know how to set something up like that up, and also have a bank account?
Yes.
So we can have donations of money put into and then divvy it up to various charities. So I said, I'll look into it while you look into contacting all the Chelsea boys. He contacted the Chelsea boys, so did one. Everyone thought it was a great idea. I formed a bank account. We then started playing exhibition games all over the country, as far as the West Country, down in Bristol, even down into Devon, and also up in the Middlesex area and London area, and at Aston Villa. We played an exhibition game there against the Bobby Moore 11. And we would split the gate receipts between the club and ourselves so that we could build up some money for various charities. And sometimes we'd go down the night before and the club would lay on a sportsman's dinner. But all the Chelsea boys sitting down at different tables so that people that had a table of 9 would have a table of 10, because the 10th person would be one of the players, which must have been a great privilege to have one of the Chelsea
absolutely
on the table. And then they'd do some auctions and we'd raise money for the football club that night.
Yeah.
So it was a great thing to do. And I've got great memories of that. Yes, and Ken Chilicho became the manager. He said, "Got to help out in the dugout as his assistant," which I duly done.
Yeah,
and
bless him.
And then they wanted me to become the founder of the Chelsea 70s, which, it was great days.
Yeah, bless. Great players too.
Yeah, and in these games, they weren't excellent at winning the ball because they're that much older now.
But their minds are still there, aren't they?
But I tell you what, when we got the ball, the other team found it even harder to get back.
Yeah, of course they would, because they knew how to play. The mind doesn't go, does it? The legs might fail, but the mind doesn't go. And of course, one of those matches you organised, Terry, was Chelsea 70s 11 versus a Showbiz 11 in 1988. I've still got the programme for that. I mean, really brilliant. Yeah. The proceeds of which went to the Save the Bridge Fund on this particular occasion.
Yes.
When Chelsea were in all sorts of financial trouble, of course. But some great names in that Showbiz 11 team too, Terry, which included Bobby Moore, Jim Davidson, Stan Boardman, and someone called Bungalow Bill Wiggins. I won't say why he's called Bungalow Bill Wiggins. Yeah. Amazing, Terry. I think it all goes to Bungalow Bill Wiggins is all about plenty down below and nothing up top, wasn't it, really? That's what a character. I do remember him.
Yes.
Incredible. That's an amazing match. Not sure how that panned out, but good to see, I should imagine.
Yes, it was. I think Ken Bates was involved at that stage.
Good old Ken.
Sure. Or was it Rouse?
Well, Ken Bates might have been involved, mightn't he? Because that's about the time when Ken Bates was at Chelsea and he was saving the club. So it could have been Ken Bates.
Yeah. Was Rouse the chairman before him? Who was the chairman before? The Lovely family.
No, Mears,
that's it.
The Mears family.
Lovely family. I did meet him
Yeah, Brian Mears was the chairman,
Yeah,
wasn't it? I'm friends with his son,
yeah.
actually, Chris Mears.
And he sold the pub for £1 to Ken
That's it.
Bates.
He did.
And Ken Bates picked up all the debt, so it might have been at that.
I think it
time.
was.
In fact, I've got the date here, the programme.
Oh, get it out. Let's have a look. Because
the game was May the 8th, 1988.
Yeah, it was 1988. There we are. And Ken Bates bought all the property around the ground to stop the bulldozers going. And I remember that as well. Another story.
Spot on.
Incredible.
So let's give, while he was controversial, Ken Bates.
Yeah.
That was a good movie done there.
Oh, huge movie.
In many ways, he did save Chelsea.
Well, Chelsea Football Club wouldn't be around today if it wasn't for Ken Bates, as far as I'm concerned. He was incredible. I know I had this conversation with Alan Hudson when he was on the show 4 weeks ago, and he didn't like players or people going to Leeds. But in Ken Bates's case, he went to Leeds United, didn't he, and as chairman to sort them out. And I kind of understood it because it was business. It wasn't football for Ken. It was business.
It was, because there's the key. I've had offers to go to other clubs in the last 40 years. I would never go to Farnborough. I'd never go to Woking. I followed their results and wished them all well. I had an offer from Reading when they played at Elm Park to go there as a commercial manager. I turned Reading down. I could have got involved with Portsmouth when Alan Ball was involved with Portsmouth.
Yes.
Peter Osgood was down there as well.
Yes.
They both wanted to go down and get involved with the club. Can't do it.
No.
Aldershot Football Club is not in my blood. It's in my bones.
It's in your bones. It's part of your soul, Terry, isn't it? Aldershot
Football
Club.
I mean, my bones.
Well, I'll tell you what. When I go to the, I still call it the recreation centre. There's no disrespect to the current sponsors.
Recreation ground.
Yeah, recreation ground size. No disrespect to the current sponsors. But when I go there and I turn up and I walk through those gates, I feel at home. I feel as if a spirit's re-entered me, and it's just an amazing feeling. Yeah. Smell the grass, look at the pitch.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm at home.
And that's how the supporters feel as well.
Yeah, it is. It's incredible.
It doesn't go away.
And then, of course, not forgetting the glorious weekend we've just had, Terry, because we're talking a bit about you here as well. It was Victorian Day in Aldershot, wasn't it? And you played the part of Prince Albert alongside Queen Victoria. I'm not sure who the lady is, but I might have befriended her on Facebook recently in a street party in Acton. I mean, that's hugely exciting, Terry, isn't it? Or should I call you?
Yeah, we had hundreds and hundreds of people turn up. They do it every year, Victoria Day, because Aldershot is a Victorian town.
It is.
Queen Victoria visited Aldershot on many occasions.
Well, it's the home of the British Army, isn't it? So,
and stayed overnight on occasions in Aldershot.
Wow.
She lived in Osborne House on the Holloway.
She did.
That was a favourite resident, by the way. And yes, we have a lady called Betty. And Betty has always been Queen Victoria for many years.
It is Betty.
Prince Albert, her husband, 20 years ago, I think it was. And then she's asked me to do it again because the last person to be Prince Albert for the last 10 years was falling ill and is no longer able to do it. So I could be Prince Albert now for the next 10 years.
You could be, because there's still plenty of life left.
I'll send you the videos and I'll send you some bits and pieces on. Unless I've already done it, have I?
You've done that already. I've got the videos. They're quite amazing in the pictures.
It was great.
Yeah, lining the streets of Aldershot. Brilliant.
And I dressed up in uniform. It was great.
Yeah, I thought it was great too.
Good fun.
Good fun, and that's great. Great for the town.
700 people took part in the parade. 700. So it was very
well supported.
Based. Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah. What a success. Yeah.
Long may it continue.
And I'm sure it will do if you at the helm. It will continue, Terry. And of course, you also like to sing. And I know that you sent me some videos singing. One of your favourite things is to sing songs and go around various places singing. You got a good voice, Terry, haven't you? Really?
Well, I get paid, which is nice.
Oh, that's nice.
I give a high percentage of my earnings to the Phyllis Tuckwell Hospice.
Yes.
I sing in around 10 different care homes. So I sing to people with dementia.
Brilliant. Well done.
And I also sing in residential homes. I sing outside of those homes, by the way, at other functions.
Amazing.
I get paid, which is nice, as I've said before. And I'm singing tonight, actually. And tonight is always a special night because for the last 2 or 3 years, I've sung at Parkside in Aldershot, who look after Down's syndrome children and adults.
Oh, bless.
Because there's many 30 and 40-year-olds who have Down syndrome.
There are, yes.
And they bus these people in from all over the area by taxis and minibuses. And I end up with about 44 to 50 people with Down syndrome. I sing for an hour and a half. And they come to life and they dance and they hug. Good time. Unbelievable.
Absolutely amazing. You've got a great heart. You really
in
have.
The care homes, when I sing to people with dementia. I take them back to all our yesterdays and sing songs from the 50s, 60s, 70s. Nat King Cole, Johnny Mathis, Jim Reeves, Elvis Presley, Cliff Richard. I can rattle them all off. All the back.
You should sing a little bit of Frank Sinatra, Terry, as
they
well.
come to life, these people with dementia. And some of them start singing. And it's wonderful. And sometimes if the resident person with dementia is sitting with her daughter listening to my concert, if the mother starts singing, I'll put the microphone up and I stop singing. And the daughter says afterwards, wow, I've not heard my mother sing like that for 10 years.
Wow.
It brings the daughter to tears. So it's very rewarding.
I think that's extremely rewarding. And I was going to suggest maybe you should sing one of Frank Sinatra's songs, My Way, which, as you know, is the title of my autobiography, which you are in, by the way, as well. You've got a copy, signed copy.
I've got a copy, yeah.
So Frank Sinatra, My Way, an amazing story. And
I sing that song regular.
Good stuff. I'll get you to sing it at some occasion when I'm around.
I've also been on, by the way, British Got Talent.
Oh.
And I got in front of the judges there, and then COVID shut the whole thing down.
COVID ruined a lot of things for a lot of people.
I've done the Tom Jones number there, and Green Grass at Home.
Oh, wow. That would have been brilliant.
But I had a little bit on the television, saying that they're not running it, and I've still got that bit.
Oh, that's good.
But yeah.
Oh, what a great life story you've had.
Thank you.
You're an absolute gentleman, an absolute privilege to speak to you. So what is next in the world of Terry Owens? What does the future hold next, Terry? Have you got anything other marvellous stories you're planning or engineering moving forwards?
Well, I think what is important for us is family.
It is.
I've got two lovely grandchildren.
Yes.
Football is important to me, i.e. Aldershot Football Club.
Yes.
But if I had a choice between seeing the grandchildren and going to a home game, I'd probably choose seeing the grandkids if there was a need for that.
Yeah. No,
I've also got a wife, and I'm spending more time with the wife, because when you're chairman of a football club, or you're involved in community things like I am as well.
Yes.
I'm involved with the Phyllis Tutwell Hospice. I've been a volunteer now for the Phyllis Tutwell Hospice for 25 years. And I'm also been the mayor's chairman of fundraising for the last 26 years. So we've had 26 mayors, all different political parties.
Yes.
And they all believe that I'll be totally impartial, chairing their fundraising meetings and chairing their fundraising teams that they select. I've done that for 26 years, still doing that. So that takes up time as well. My singing takes up time. Football club takes up time. I won't change.
No, you won't change. I know you won't change. You won't change. This is Terry Owens, isn't it? This is Mr. Aldershot. And I know what it's like. You do enjoy it. You know, you look like you're enjoying it. You're having a good life. You look very well, which is great. And I know what it's like to be a chairman of a football club, because Lowestoft Town asked me to be chairman of them a few years back when they had some financial troubles, to try and get them out, steer them out of it. And of course, even BBC Radio thought I was chairman of Lowestoft Town Football Club, which I wasn't. And they used to call me up asking me to give interviews as the chairman. It's quite funny. I always gave the interviews, because it was good fun to do and it was a nice thing to do. But I knew from those days how tough that would be on family, friends. Yeah. Your life is just the club then, and that can be quite destructive. So
I have to say, with Shahid, we can't agree on everything. Two people never agree on that.
No, of course not.
And maybe sometimes me and Shahid will disagree on something, but he is the chairman. He is having a bad time, both with supporters.
Yeah, and wrongly. That's wrong.
At times, and with the finances.
Yes.
It's a tough thing to do, but he's hanging on in there. We've got this development within the football club, which he's driving along with his current board of directors. And if that comes to fruition in 2024, next year, the financial reward on that development will be split three ways, I believe. One, Rushmore Borough Council will want a cut, profit. Two, the contractors will want a cut from that. People that are running the scheme, Wates, WATES, international company, and the football club will get a third. So let's say we all get a third. Yeah. Hopefully that 1/3 will steady the finances of the football club, clear the baggage, clear the debt, and then have some left to you never invest in a football club. It's always a gamble.
It is.
To try and rebuild a team to take us to a higher level with financial stability.
Absolutely.
And a more modernised ground.
And you've got to.
So good luck, Shahid, if you're listening or listening to this programme.
Well, I hope he does.
Good luck on that.
And I wish Shahid as well an enormous amount of success for that, not just for him personally, of course, because he's a lovely man, but also for the success of Aldershot Town Football Club. Because it's important for us all, isn't it, that believe in the club.
It is, yeah. And could I do an ambassadorial role as well?
You do.
And as an ambassador, I go to most of the supporters' funerals.
Yes.
Quite often I get asked by the family to do a eulogy on that supporter. Yeah. His life revolved around the football club. It's unbelievable how many people's lives, after they passed away, you learn that his life was the football club.
Indeed.
I visit supporters in hospital. If they're in hospital and I find out they're in hospital, with the family, I go and visit them, take a programme, make it feel special. I keep in touch with all former players' widows.
Incredible.
With my wife and with me as well.
Yes.
So I keep in touch with all the widows of former players. So it's important that I continue to do that. And being a trustee of the Shots Foundation is a big responsibility as well. I embrace it, and let's see how it all pans out.
Absolutely.
Season. So let's wish Tommy Witherington well.
Absolutely.
And his coaching staff. Let's wish Kings Lynn well.
Yes.
It's your club as well.
Indeed.
And let's get this club back to the Football League.
Let's get this club back to the Football League, which is what everyone's aim is, of course. And having you near to the helm, I won't say at the helm now because you're not, but near to the helm and supporting Shahid and the board moving forwards. Aldershot Town Football Club can't wish for a better person, can they, Terry, having you? I mean, you are, and I've mentioned it many times already, Mr. Aldershot. You really do love the club, your spirit's in the club and the supporters and the people of the town. It's amazing, really. Absolutely incredible. You're a gentleman and it's an absolute honour to know you. It truly is. Fantastic, man.
Well, thank you. And I hope one day when I do leave this planet that I've left a little bit of a legacy.
Yes. Yes, you certainly will do. You absolutely
76 years of age now.
Yep.
I've lived 90% of my life. I've got 10% left on it.
But still 10% of greatness you've got left, Terry, and a wonderful life you've got ahead of you too. And I am conscious of time as well. We had a lovely chat on here. We could go on forever. We could go on forever. So I am going to say thank you very much, Terry, for coming on to the World of Lord Russell podcast show. It's been a huge pleasure, and I wish you and Aldershot Town Football Club the very best for the future, and of course the forthcoming National League campaign, which looks very promising. So thank you, Terry Owens, or should I say His Royal Highness Prince Albert, well, at least for a day. Thank you, Terry.
In that case, I'll refer to you as my lord. Absolutely.
You can call me whatever you like. You can call many things. That's fantastic. Thank you very much, Terry.
Cheers.
Pleasure. Take care. And speak to you at the beginning of the season. Take care.
Good luck with your future podcast.
Thank you very much. It's appreciated.
Cheers.
So thank you very much, Terry. The next episode on the World of Lord Russell podcast show is a blind date and not the weakest link, where my special guest will be Ted Maybank, the former Chelsea, Fulham and Brighton centre forward, where we'll talk about Ted's life in football and, of course, his game show prowess. So until then, it's au revoir from him and au revoir from me.